Each year, it's always a pleasure to speak to some of my fellow film critics to talk about the year in review in film. And 2025 has, as always, been a very interesting year. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to Peter Malone, who is the film reviewer for the Catholic Film Office. Peter, welcome again to Movie Metropolis.
Thank you, Peter. A year already.
Yes. So, first of all, I'll ask you, Peter, what's your overview of this year in film?
As I looked at the list that I've made, it doesn't seem to be as outstanding as I might have imagined. There's a lot of films that I liked, but I'm not sure that a whole lot jumped out at me and saying, these are for all time to be revered.
Okay. Okay. No, I understand. And but it's always great to see films in cinema if possible. And I know there's still some people attacking cinemas saying, "Oh, it's all going to go to streaming, etc." But I don't know about that.
Well, I was at a Baldwin cinema the other day at midday to see the Japanese film, Kohuko or whatever.
Kokuho,
And
yeah.
I was surprised. I was surprised at the number of people there, about 20. And I thought on a Wednesday at Baldwin, 20 people, older rather than younger,
Yep.
happy to have an outing in a cinema rather than just simply staying at home. They can have a cup of coffee or whatever, comfort of the cinema, big screen. And of course, greatly in favour of cinemas, of course.
Yes.
And with the Netflix films, happy to see them in the cinema before they go to Netflix.
Absolutely agree. Great to hear all that. All right, Peter, let's go through your list. What are your best films of this year?
Well, each year, Peter, I say to you, they're the best for me, so to speak. So on an objective scale, they may not reach the top 10. I hope some of them do,
Yeah.
but they're the films that have meant, I suppose, most to me.
Hmm.
And to my shock, the one that I put on the top of the list is actually a National Theatre Live film, and that was Inter Alia.
Ah,
I really, somehow or other, as I watched it, not in the cinema, I'd have to tell you, I did watch it on the computer, but it had so much impact on me that I kept thinking about it. And when I was asked for our website, Australian Catholics, for two films that stood out, not necessarily the best, but two that stood out, then that was the first one I chose. I don't think I've ever seen Rosamund Pike so good.
yep.
Although now you see me, now you don't, three or four, whatever it was, she actually made rather a good villain. But I must say, uh, I enjoyed I enjoyed it, but it was challenging in terms of that woman and all the themes that start to emerge of a judge in the court, but also then in relationship to her husband, appointed a judge before him, so the equality issues, marriage, female judges, etc. And then the shock when their son was involved then in a sex abuse case and all the repercussions of that. And I thought within under 2 hours to have dramatized that so well verbally. I'm trying to think of the name of the playwright. Isn't that terrible?
That's all right.
She's an Australian playwright,
Yes.
and she did the previous film on the law as well.
Yes.
By the way, I noticed that that first one they're going to make as a cinema film with Cynthia Erivo. So it'll be interesting to see legal films next year.
Yep.
But Rosamund Pike and the way that it was filmed, and I think that's interesting cinematically, the variety of ways in which angles are done, of which motion within the framework of the stage, all those kinds of things make it, I think, a cinematic experience, even though it's National Theatre Live.
Yes. I agree with you. Prima Facie was the first.
Prima facie, that's the
Yes.
one, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and I must say, National Theatre Live this year, I was very taken with The Fifth Step.
Yep.
I've never seen Martin Freeman and Jack Lowden so good. And within 82 minutes, the themes, and again, two people in not in the circle, but in the square,
Yes.
and how they actually moved so that the audience could see them in different aspects all the time. And yet the dialogue and the dramatic interaction, um, I found those very powerful.
Yes. And the beauty of National Theatre Live, the way they film it, is they use 5 or 6 cameras so that you get close-ups and you get an experience that's different from sitting in a theatre in a fixed spot.
It is, and that's why I've enjoyed them. There was also the importance of being earnest earlier this year, which I didn't quite so enjoy. Bit too camp, I thought. I mean, Oscar Wilde might have enjoyed it, but I'm not sure. But then there was also Mrs. Warren's Profession with
Yep.
Imelda Staunton and her daughter. So that I found that surprisingly, as I looked at the list, National Theatre Live has actually been very good for me this year.
Yes, I agree with you that they have been great productions. Okay.
Well, then, when I had to pick another one, not necessarily the best, but one that actually made an impression and has stayed, and that is Train Dreams. I was, I don't know why really that it made such an impact, but just sitting there, again, in the cinema before it went to Netflix, which was a good thing,
Mm,
and just that whole immersion in the life of an unremarkable life, and just from the 1880s to the 1960s, and thinking, isn't it extraordinary how the world has changed in that span?
mm,
And here's this man, rather reclusive, not necessarily involved, but living this unremarkable life, but with some kind of dignity and integrity, with some joy, with some disappointment, with a great deal of ordinariness. And then, slight spoiler, there he is in the 1960s being offered to go up in a small plane to look at a bird's eye view of the earth where he's lived. I've said that all aloud. It reconfirms that I really did like Train Dreams
mm.
and great admiration for Joel Edgerton in the role.
It is a really good film that was somewhat underrated, I thought. Yeah,
Yes, yes, I see it does have some Golden Globe nominations, so I presume there's going to be some recognition, even if it's just nominations, but that has its value, of course.
it does.
Now, can I shock you with the next one?
Go for it.
Wake Up Dead Man. I really did enjoy it, and
Yep.
once again, seeing it in the cinema, and for me, I then realised it's the most Catholic film since Conclave.
True.
Now, I think it would have been very enjoyable, whatever the themes, but from the Catholic perspective,
Mm.
and I read a review yesterday of a rather traditionalist Catholic on a very traditionalist Catholic website, and he started by growling about ignorance of Hollywood directors as regards details of Catholicism. But as he went on, he really liked the film, and actually then commented on Josh Brolin's terrible Monsignor, and that there are that kind of dominating clergy around. That and he was almost, a cult leader there in his little parish that his father had set up, etc., etc. But then I was interested that this writer actually praised Josh O'Connor's young fiery priest and was very enthusiastic. So I actually agree with that. I found it very interesting.
Mm.
Um, I thought that the way that he captured a lot of the vocabulary you wish, somebody, you don't take confession, you hear confessions, but anyhow, they keep saying you take confessions.
Yeah.
And I forget what the word for mass is. You celebrate the mass, but perhaps I say take mass and all. Anyhow, allowing for those things, and I'm sure police watching police thrillers are growling about the terminology that's used there. But I must say that as the whole thing went through, and I was curious about Ryan Johnson and his Christianity, so I kept looking up things and found that he came from a very evangelical background in the US, but that he was trying to get to terms with whatever that was in his background about Christianity. But I'm still puzzled why he chose Catholicism. Maybe it's the whole liturgical, because the murder takes place during the Good Friday ceremony. So you can't get more exciting, I suppose, than that. And the theme then of the title and Good Friday, the death of Jesus Christ, and of course the Christian interpretation of the resurrection, wake up, dead man, and then the whole subplot about the characters who so venerated the Monsignor that they would even concoct in some way of trying to resurrect him. Apart from the murder mystery itself, all kinds of interesting themes I found, and the range of characters. And I really would like to have a copy of what's his name, McCormack, as the one with the camera all the time and was there campaigning. And his list of all the causes that he tried to identify with, I thought it was beyond MAGA, really, what he was saying. So I thought it was very topical for 2025, even though they made it last year. And I thought, as a murder mystery, I think I worked out who did it, but I couldn't work out how and why.
Yes, it was very enjoyable. I agree with you with that religious text in there. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Daryl McCormack. I was trying to think of
Yes,
his
Daryl. Yeah.
first name. Yes. So they were towards the top of the list.
Yep.
Now I'll go a bit esoteric, um, but the film I really liked at the British Film Festival was I Swear.
Ah.
I thought it was I'd sit through that again just to try to appreciate the values. And while we all know Tourette's syndrome and people blurting things out, so to speak, until I'd seen the film, I'd never focused so much on what happened psychologically and physically for someone who has Tourette's syndrome.
Mm.
And I thought the film, based on real life, and I noticed the man himself was the executive producer of the film. And as for the swearing in the first minute in front of Her Majesty, that certainly jolted our attention. But when it came back to that scene and he was getting the honour, what he had been through, and just to say one thing about it, the adult actor I thought was very good, but the way that the film was made and the little boy, aged 12, and he seemed so promising at home and at the football and all the rest of it. And then suddenly his twitches and suddenly the things blurting out. And you'd thought so nicely of the boy and the future he was going to have, and then this happens. And I think that emotional jolt carried me anyway throughout the whole film. And I really would recommend it.
I
How
agree
did you
with you.
find it?
Oh, I liked it a lot. It was a real highlight of the British Film Festival. I hope it gets a cinematic release soon.
Yes, I think I saw it on some list as possible in March, so I
Ah,
really do hope that it does come out.
yeah.
And just linking it with that was the British Film Festival. There was a film at the Italian Film Festival that really jolted me also, and it has the strange title, The Boy with the Pink Pants.
Oh,
Did you
yes.
see that one?
Yes, I did. I did. Yes.
And again, it's the young boy and a future there, and then suddenly the whole thing shifts, and the whole thing of that cyberbullying
Mm,
and the bullying. And again, I wasn't expecting that kind of conclusion. I hadn't read the story on which it was based. So by the end of the film, like with I Swear, although I Swear is full of hope, whereas The Boy with the Big Pants is a jolt, I think, to society.
yeah.
And in the context of the ban under 16 on social media, then this film is one that could be used as an argument for the ban,
Mm,
irrespective of whether we like it or not.
yeah.
But that's a fact. And again, the Catholicism, I rather enjoyed the fact that he actually went and sang before the Pope. So there you are. So he had a joy in his life. But I found it interesting, and I would hope that that gets some kind of wider release,
Mm.
especially in the Australian context at the moment.
Yep.
So I found that I was enjoying actually films from the festival.
Yep.
Now, I'm looking at, I've got um, two more that I've got on my top list. Then I've got about half a dozen that if we have time, and I've also got four on my I really didn't like list, but we'll
Good.
see whether we've got time or not.
Sure.
Um, the next one is Francois Ozon's film, When Fall is Coming. And I really did like that as a drama. And again, it had surprises with the focus on an old lady.
Mm.
And then the gradual revelation, as there she was in her village and her good friend from long since, and the relationship with their families. I suppose Ozon is very good at creating that kind of atmosphere. You know, for more than 20 years, well, almost 30 years, he's been making films.
Yeah.
And somehow or other, I was drawn into this, especially by the performance of the main old lady and the difficulty she had with her daughter and being a bit unsympathetic to the daughter. Why was she so hard on her mother?
Mm.
And then the gradual revelation. And just struck me, here's another Catholic theme. Dear, oh dear, there's a subconscious. Now you can analyze why I'm saying all these things, but I've made the list. But anyhow, um, I was very taken with the fact that there was an black African priest in the parish,
Hmm.
and that it was he who, in the gospel readings, chose very much the Jesus sympathy towards the tax collectors and the prostitutes, and that compassion that was there, which wasn't in some of the other characters. And so when you found out the background of the two women,
Mm.
and perhaps eyebrows go up a bit,
Yep.
you can't imagine that these two nice old ladies didn't have the most calm past that you might have imagined. So it gave a dimension, I thought, to the look at human nature, change, relationships, sinfulness, so to speak, forgiveness, compassion, all those kinds of things. And it was when one of the ladies died, and the priest again was there celebrating the funeral. And one of the sons, could he bring himself actually to go into the church? It actually, I thought, had a great deal of, say, gospel compassion, but on a level then that any audience could watch. I thought it was a great film of human compassion.
Yep. I agree. Good film. Yep.
It was a good film. Now, I'm staying in France, and it was the story of Suleiman.
Ah.
And it was a small film, and the main actor wasn't, I think, professional,
Hmm.
uh, but it was about the refugees, the migrants in France, which, of course, when we look around the world and across the Atlantic from France to a certain nation there, which has very much immigration problems at the moment, I thought the portrait of the man as a deliverer, trying to make ends meet, his friends, the company, simple in its way, but it's one of those profoundly simple kinds of films. And as I was looking down the list, I thought, yes, that's the kind of film that I like and appreciate, and I'm going to put it on my list, even if it didn't get a huge audience when it was released.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I thought it was an excellent insight into a man's issues about immigration and so on. Yep. No, excellent stuff.
I've got a PS. It's not one of the best films of the year, but I think it's the context in which I saw it was a press preview at the Rivoli
Yeah.
um, with David Wenham there. But I laughed a lot at Spit,
Oh, yes.
and I was so disappointed it hardly did any business, I would
Mm.
think. And it was suddenly on Foxtel before you could say David Wenham. But in terms of Australianism, and just that deadpan humour,
Mhm.
which I thought pervaded the whole thing. I think people would really enjoy Spit if they were enticed to watch it. So I thought I'll put it on my list just as a kind of PS.
Yes, I must
Now,
say,
depending,
I just want to say I agree with you. I spoke to the director about the film, and we tended to agree that maybe the title was off-putting for audiences.
well, that's true. That's true. Um, and we were there, I suppose, because we knew it was a sequel and what
Mm,
had happened in the past. And David Wenham is always, worth. And when he's in that kind of cheeky, laid back, um, daring all kinds of deadpan humour.
yep.
Somehow that, and the atmosphere at the Rivoli that night, I don't know whether you were at that screening,
No.
but it was really very enjoyable and a suddenly surprisingly enjoyable evening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I've got a few more that I really liked. So depending on time, Peter.
Yes, we've got about 15 minutes. Yep.
Oh well, all right. Just wrote them down in various, not quality list. So start with Nuremberg.
I am.
Um, I was thinking as I watched it, there's Russell Crowe, 25 years after Gladiator,
Mm,
and when he wants to, he can still dominate the screen.
mm,
I thought it was an extraordinary performance and impersonation of somebody that to me was, I suppose, over the decades, Goering has become kind of a caricature.
mm,
That big fat bloke there who was, loyal to Hitler and really, with his smug look, wasn't particularly interesting to follow up.
mm.
And anyhow, he killed himself there at Nuremberg, so, why bother?
Yeah.
So I found the film certainly about the trials themselves, and where I thought it was interesting, um, Michael Shannon's character, Robert Jackson, uh, and the idea of the Nuremberg trials. I just assumed, of course, after the war they had the Nuremberg trials, but I didn't realise the complexities of the justice issues and the complexity of the international issues. And so that finally they had to have the judges from the different representatives in Germany, including the Soviet Union.
Yep.
And again, oh dear, I think I'm on a Catholic theme today. Um, I found it very intriguing, Shannon's visit to Pius XII, that given the debates about Pius XII and his role, and I thought the film brought out, yes, he was the papal nuncio in Germany during the 30s and getting some kind of concordat, so for protecting the Catholic Church in Nazi Germany. And then the whole question of should he have spoken out more about the Holocaust, etc., and the counterbalance then of um, going back to old Gregory Peck there in The Scarlet and the Black and Monsignor Flaherty and, that kind of saving of so many Jews in Italy. So that the dialogue there of Shannon wanting those trials to go ahead and getting the endorsement of the Catholic Church via Pius XII, given his history. So this has taken place in 45, and the Concordat was only 12 years earlier. So I thought it was just an intriguing extra.
Mm,
I think the film could have gone on without that particular sequence. But again, it made, I thought, quite an impact, at least for me to understand having the trials wasn't all that easy. And then with that, uh, I'm not sure I really liked Rami Malek's performance. I, I, I have a difficulty with him, and it's not his fault for not being tall, but he does seem so slight.
mm,
And the way the script was written, it was almost for somebody of a bigger physical stature. So I don't know whether how that affects, the critique of the film. I think he did his best. I thought he gave an interesting performance. But now that I think of it, as you found out more about him and his relationship with Goering and Goering's family, but then his relationship with the others and his own personality and what ultimately happened to him, perhaps it was reasonable casting after all. So that was a strange thing that I was experiencing watching it. with Rami Malek there as the psychiatrist. But anyhow, back to Russell Crowe. Um, obviously, obviously, he was enjoying portraying the monster, and I suppose Russell Crowe is able to do this, a relentlessness there. I mean, narcissistic, second only to, oh, that's a bit unfortunate. I was going to say the President of the United States, but perhaps that's not the right thing to say. Anyhow, you know what I mean.
Yes.
But that kind of supremely confident narcissism that he had, and the disillusioning of that when he was put on, especially that scene with um, Richard E. Grant.
No.
I thought that was one of the terrific moments of the film
Yep.
when Richard E. Grant asks Goering the questions that Shannon had been trying to ask, and in a sense he condemned himself. So I thought Russell Crowe, he can do that kind of grandeur presence, physically huge, psychologically huge, and dominate the film, even though in himself he was the loathsome Goering. So
Yes.
yes, I think I did. I think I did like Nuremberg a lot.
Yes.
And just talking about monsters, I notice on my list here I did put Frankenstein. I was actually very taken with it,
Hmm.
and I recommended it to a friend. And the next week he said to me, "Gee, it was boring, wasn't it?" And I thought, oh, well, no, I didn't think it was boring. Um, we've had so many Frankenstein films.
Yes.
And I rather liked, although I see it's not politically correct, to have liked Kenneth Branagh's film from the 90s. But I actually did rather enjoy that, and I found that kind of treatment instead of the Hammer Horror Studios. I found that kind of more open treatment,
Mm.
which I think does go back to James Whale's Frankenstein, where there was a lot of
Oh, yeah.
compassion for the monster, I think.
Mm.
The scene with the little girl
Mm.
in the 1931 was very good. So that this time you've got 3 hours to elaborate all these themes. And I found it interesting that I thought Oscar Isaac's Victor Frankenstein was completely unsympathetic, that he was ambitious, that he was, inverted commas, playing God and actually then playing Satan as well. And perhaps that's what Mary Shelley was getting at. So that we always liked Peter Cushing, so he was a pleasant man, sympathetic. So I found this version highlighting that, at least until the end, when some kind of deathbed conversion, he was actually such an arrogant scientist. And therefore, the contrast with the creature rather than the monster, and Jacob Elordi's performance as the creature and as sympathetic, even if violent and had that limited, I suppose, humanity because it was being composed of so many parts, so to speak. I found that really fascinating over the 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I thought that there was a lot in it. And then, certainly with the early part, Frankenstein with his father, with his brother's fiance, all those particular themes, society, Edinburgh, parts of the story with which we're familiar. But I really liked the part where the creature then was out in the countryside
Mm.
and with a character played by, I forget his name now, but he was the old blind man. And that kind of empathy and the blind man not seeing the creature monsterly, but talking about reading and thinking and humanity, and that altering then the creature's final confrontation with Dr. Frankenstein. So I must say I found it 3 hours interesting rather than 3 hours boring.
I absolutely agree with you. We've only got about 5 minutes or so left, so just your some other films.
Yes, I've got, I suppose there's a bit of contemporary Americana. I've got one battle after another here.
Yep.
And so say something about that. But before that, I saw Ella McCay the other day,
Yeah.
and it was slight, I found.
Hmm.
it's back to terms of endearment and as good as it gets for James L. Brooks. And I see it was released when he was 85, turning
Hmm.
85. But as I watched it and the ending and all that optimism about American society that James L. Brooks has,
Yeah.
uh, if it was released in the Obama and Biden administrations, it'd be nice. That's what we expect.
Hmm.
But here it is being released in 2025, almost a year after the actual election. And I was thinking the aims of Ella McKay and her social concern, Elon Musk would have shut her down almost instantly
Hmm.
early this year. And the staff that she had finally working with her a lot of them would have gone because of that anti-diversity
Yeah.
in functioning. And I thought, dear oh dear, here we are, that film being made in 2024, and here it is in 2025, and what's the United States like? And so the question, what is the United States like? You have answer one battle after another.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And so I must say that it was an interesting contrast thinking about them. And I suppose I was a bit overwhelmed by one battle after another. And there was just so much in it. And going back into the past, and those secret groups of wealthy politicians scheming, then the military. And I must say, I don't think I've seen Sean Penn better than that horrible character that he was playing. And Leonardo DiCaprio, you expect him to be all right. But I really thought it was an overwhelming experience. And with our limited time, let me symbolize it by that chase at the end
Hmm.
on that roller coaster, travel along the roads, up and down and up and down. I, in terms of visuals and motion pictures, I thought that was absolutely marvelous. And bringing that kind of disturbing experience to an end. So I think there have been a number of other films that are, highlighting the difference between the Biden administration and the MAGA loyalties, and I presume we're going to see more of that.
Yeah.
Can I just add
Yes.
on the films I didn't like in the remaining minutes?
Yes.
Did you like Friendship?
No.
I, anyhow, it taught me how to review a film that I really don't like.
Yeah.
And I decided then, I always like to look at the IMDb bloggers, whether you agree with them or not, or whether they're fanatical and
Yeah.
all the rest of it. Anyhow, some were saying it's one of the funniest films of the year, which I didn't find.
Hmm.
And then a couple of others, this is terrible. So I decided to put two paragraphs of opposing opinions because people have liked it and people haven't liked it, and then finally say, I agree with the one that didn't like it. And so I was then really stuck with how to review The Surfer.
Oh.
It didn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah. Shocking.
Oh, well, that might be enough, Peter, on it. But some people, praised it, and I really couldn't understand uh, how it ticked at all.
Hmm.
The other ones I've got here are two American comedies, one of them Days in Summer Camp, which I really didn't like much at all and was very disappointed in them. So that means I would think I've also got Sinners and Weapons on the list here in terms of horror and different films, which I found both very interesting. And I'd give the Oscar to Amy Madigan for Best Supporting Actress as that horrible, horrible grandmother. Uh, so it wasn't, as you asked me at the beginning, I didn't find it an outstanding year.
Hmm.
And maybe some of those that are going to win the Oscars haven't been quite released, like Hamlet or something like that.
Hmm.
And we've got that all to come. But it's been an interesting year, in many ways an entertaining year, and I hope gives us enough confidence that cinemas will remain with us.
I like that final statement, and I agree with you. And yeah, a really good eclectic list as always, Peter. Well done. Thank you so much for that. We've been speaking to Peter Malone, who's the film reviewer for the Catholic Film Office, about his best and not so good films from 2025. Peter, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thanks for the opportunity, Peter.
All the best. Bye bye.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.